Hello, welcome back to 3M Affairs podcast. I'm Brandon. I'm here with, I'm in Toronto, and Josh and Caleb are over there in New York, chilling out.
What's up?
Today we're going to be talking about What We Do in the Shadows. Fantastic movie, comedy. I'm the directors. Somebody else say the names. I'm going to fuck it up.
Well, to be fair, they're like unconventional names. There's Taika Waititi. And
see, I was going to mess that up.
And Jermaine Clement. So.
That's fair.
Yeah. Fantastic. But we'll get into that. I loved it. It was a great movie. But before that, Caleb brought to us a short film that he's been talking to the director about. Caleb, you want to intro it?
Yeah. So I do. I work for Film Review Daily, which is a UK based website that review. I mean, you can guess what it does by the title, Film Review a Day. And since I started working there, I get emails sometimes, and this producer emailed me and said, would you want to watch this short and cover it for the website? And I said, of course. So it's a short film called Stationary, directed by Lewis Chan, about three British teenagers sitting in a car talking about stuff. And I really enjoyed it. I found it to be a very good example of what you can do with very little in terms of, it's like one location, limited resources. And so I don't know what you guys thought of it. I've seen it a bunch of times, and I think it's really, really special. But what did you guys think?
I enjoyed it. It was an interesting kind of short film in the sense that I kind of told you just before we started recording that what from the product that you see, it looks simple. Mm-hmm. But then you say you go to the credits and there's 100 people that worked on it, and I love that. I love simplicity. I love short films that inspire you to do it on your own and make your own products. I love the relationships with the actors. I thought the direction was really well. A lot of subtle work that I thought really, really showcased the idea of these friends just in a car, dealing with their shit, and what do you how does that work? What are the masks, the social masks that the characters wear, and who says what at what? I thought it was really well done.
Yeah. I thought there's a couple things that really set it apart as a short film. I mean, one, just off the bat, first of all, I thought it was great. I was really impressed with it. Why are British accents so cool, first of all? I didn't realize it was in British. They started talking. I'm like, well, I'm in already. I'm in. This is cool. I don't know. It seems professiontional.
It seems more professional.
I don't know. They got me. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Peaky Blinders, I guess. I don't know. I really liked it. But as a short film, it's one of those short films where no matter how well it was produced, which it was, they had shots that set them apart from a normal short film, in my opinion. Like that one where he's sitting, there's a shot where he's sitting in the front seat of the car, the main guy, and the main girl's behind him, and she's smoking a joint, and she blows smoke at the back of his head. Oh, yeah. And the shot is from the front, and it was just beautifully well done
with the slow motion and things like that. Yeah,
yeah, and the smoke was highlighted, and there was multiple shots like that set them apart from what a standard short film would do, which was really impressive. But that short film could go either way, no matter how well it's done, if the acting isn't up to snuff, and it really was. They were fan-fucking-tastic. Did you guys watch Peaky Blinders at all?
Yeah.
It's on the list.
Did that kid not... Fantastic show, by the way. Gotta watch it. But did that kid not remind you of John?
Yeah, I thought that maybe he does look like a long lost Cole brother.
yeah, exactly, and the same kind of attitude and that gravitas as an actor.
I thought, yeah, so his name's Aaron Thomas Ward. I thought he was excellent. I think he's the best actor in the thing, but that's not to minimize the accomplishments of the other two. But the moment I was talking to Josh about this before we got on, the moment that really solidified that for me was towards the end when Shay, the girl, leaves the car, and he just I don't want to spoil it because I want everybody to watch it from the start, but he says something to himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is you're great.
Yeah.
You're a genius.
Yeah.
That was the moment that same thing for me, locked it in. It was that vulnerability. He was completely alone, that sense of self and space. It was, and that's not how most people would do it. That's
Right.
not first instinct. That's taking a thought, making sure you're getting it right, and going about it the opposite way. And super
Well, it's the
impressive.
idea of taking everything that's like, they say in the theater lingo, the previous circumstances or whatever, previous action of what happened to him and his history, and bundling it all up in this situation where he's seemingly, what to me seems to be like, he's back into his usual kind of climate before his past or whatever happened to him. And like, he's still kind of struggling, she's drinking, she's smoking, and he's like, no, I'm sober, and everything. And then she kind of needles him, but like, you can see he's carrying all of that inside, and he does it in a way that's not overacted,
Yeah.
I think it's
very
just
subtle.
So
Very
good,
subtle.
very good work.
Yeah.
It felt like a play, in the fact that, and that might be just because it's, one location, but I really did think, the type of conversation they were having, the emotional resonance in that conversation, it felt like a theater piece to me.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Very much. Also, I just want to give them credit. It was more than one location. They did go to the girl's house for a couple shots.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right. You're
I'm just giving them credit.
1.5 locations.
But no, it was really impressive. I mean, it's racking up views on YouTube. I think it's like 75,000 or something already.
Yeah.
It's a short film that all those kids should be picking up awards at festivals for on a regular basis. We should be seeing them all again soon.
Yeah.
They were all fantastic.
Yeah.
The youngest kid was really, really good as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so was the girl. They were all great, but it's just all different characters. I was impressed.
The youngest,
Really impressed.
Xavier Russell, who played Gino, was on a program called Top Boy, which I guess in England is like a big, I don't know, I never heard of it, but in the comments it's like, he's from Top Boy. So it's like, okay, cool.
Was it on? I think maybe it popped up on Netflix here at some point.
Possibly. But no, all of
Yeah.
those actors are great. And I think, they all will go places. I had the good fortune to interview the director and the producer. So hopefully that will go live at some point. But they
great.
their
Amazing.
process and everything they were talking about, with intent and making the film and the experience of, they've toured like every festival, with it.
Oh, really?
And enjoyed great success. And so I think it's great. It's called Stationary. You can watch it on the Million Youth Media YouTube channel for free, obviously. And I would encourage everybody to go check it out.
Well, it was very, very well done.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys enjoyed
Thank you
it.
for bringing it up, for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think like Josh said, one of the things that's really nice about a thing like that is that it's inspiring.
Mhm.
It's very palatable just in that it's a short film. So creatively.
Creatively. I like that creatively.
It has been a long couple days.
It's been a week.
You said you've had some auditions, Mr.
Well, yeah.
Actor Brandon.
Speaking of overacting, or not overacting, I had an audition for a kids show.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
how's
Kids
that?
It was really fun. I can't say much more about it than that, but it was a self-tape with tons of fun. First time that's kind of come. Excuse me. I'm burping. First time that's kind of come around. And it was a lot of fun. You just kind of get to let go and you remember it's a kid's show. The dialogue is so ridiculous and fun that you can't help but, I can't really talk about like what show or anything, but
Right.
it was a lot of fun. And then I had a commercial audition the next day and kind of felt a little stuck in that
That space.
overacting space. Exactly. And it's commercial audition. So sometimes that is what's needed. That was not the case for this one. And so
This was
the casting director
like a depression medication commercial, and
no. And again, like I can't say what it is, I don't
Right.
want to get, in any trouble or anything, but the guy who's, runs the casting is fantastic, like really, really great casting director. And like, I felt bad because, gave me great direction the first time. I just was so overacting, and it was so nice. Like, all right, let's do it again. Just bring it down, And I was like, oh shit. Like I was just stuck in that space,
it's so funny because
But,
Go ahead.
no, sorry, Dad, just, but the kid show one was like, that's,
All right.
I don't know. It was fun. I was liberated.
I know that you can't say, but blink twice if it's for the Pee-wee's Playhouse reboot.
Is that a thing? Because that would be sick.
Okay.
It's
I'm
not.
not going to say
Like,
if he's
I didn't know that
blinking
was
or
a
not,
thing.
but okay, that's very interesting.
Is that a thing?
No, it's funny because like you don't look like Paul Rubens necessarily, but I feel like you could do that character in an interesting way.
I would do it. I would also need you to like buzz my head.
Yeah, hey, I
Sure.
mean, it's a good look.
I need a haircut bad.
Yeah, Corona.
The audience can't
Corona
see,
cut.
but
You got the Corona crew.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
speaking of a
it's
children's
long.
show, I started watching Power Rangers Turbo on Netflix, and
Turbo.
yeah, the 4th season. Yeah, it's the one right after
Okay.
the ninja whatever. And of course, obviously I grew up on the Power Rangers and they were great. And speaking of like terrible scripts and like overacting and things like that, like I feel like, of course, like in the 90s, if I was asked to be one of the Rangers on Power Rangers, of course I'd take it because that's the biggest TV show at the time for for kids and things like that. But can you imagine like the guy who played David, who plays Tommy, I forget his full name, MMA fighter, martial artist, he's still
Yeah. Totally.
still, like,
100%
racking
Green Ranger.
up,
Yep,
like-
Green Ranger. Yeah.
the buco dollars, going to these conventions and things like that. But like he did
I
how
don't
many
know
X
about
amount of
that, man.
seasons, and like and they had to have been in their 30s doing it, trying to be
20s,
18-year-olds,
30s,
kids or whatever. But like, can you imagine getting those scripts every day and being, and taking it seriously? And part of me hopes that I could someday at a kids show, like act like that and just be okay with it and make the money. But, I don't know.
Well, that's why I
Very
like.
important.
Yeah, you go, Brandon.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Well, very important thing to remember, specifically about Power Rangers, and specifically when you go back to like Tommy and those guys. Right, all their careers were kind of wacky after. The guy in the suit playing the villains for like a lot of the first season and doing most of the voices is Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
What? I actually had no idea.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
Okay.
that's why he's in the Power Rangers movie that came. So like that's such an important thing to remember because I agree with you. But it is
Bryan
a kid show and like
Cranston.
everything is something.
Yeah, work
and
is work.
everything's work.
Yeah.
and it's stretching muscles. So that's why Bryan Cranston, by the way, did the voice of
Zardon.
what's it called?
Zordon.
Zardon in the later one. Yeah,
Zardon. I don't know.
Zordon.
Zordon.
I think I would know.
Zoltan.
Satan.
You guys remember Zoltan?
Miss Saigon.
No, from Dude, Where's My Car?
That's awesome.
I
But
never-
yeah,
I
so
never seen that
it's
movie.
it's just interesting, like going back and watching it, and then it's what?
No, go. Just
What
we'll
happened?
breeze past it. No, it's fine.
Okay.
I was reacting to him saying, or he hasn't seen Dude, Where's My Car? Then he laughed.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I don't know.
I haven't seen it either. So.
Oh.
What?
Dude,
How did you guys miss that?
I
That was
know
like a
the
huge
line,
movie
and
when
I
we were
know
growing
I
up.
know the whole like.
I know the dude. What does mine say?
Dude, what does mine say?
Bit,
Yeah,
and I think I
that's
saw that on
actually
YouTube and like didn't think it was funny. So
Wait,
I'm not
the
gonna
thing.
we haven't
It's
talked
the same reason-
We haven't talked about We're in the Shadows yet. Can I change my movie to
watch. Yeah, all right,
Just
we'll
watch
just
it
pause.
right now.
Yeah, we'll pause and then we'll take it to our break.
Time out.
No, it's the same reason why I never really, like the American Pie movies. I never really saw them until much later. I never saw them when they were like current. So
I feel like we were young for that.
yeah, the subject matter. A little
I
bit,
saw
but
everyone.
that.
And Brandon
look
turned
at
out
you.
great.
All right, fair enough.
No,
No
the most
arguments.
interesting thing about Power Rangers to me is that like they only like half shot it. Because
Yeah,
like
'cause
half
the
of that footage is
Japanese-
repurposed from
Yeah.
just the Japanese thing. Like anytime they fight the actual monsters,
Yeah.
that's like other Japanese people in the costumes,
Yep.
like
Oh, I
from
love
like
it.
a decade before.
Yep.
And that's why like anytime they like fight, the monsters are always like, "I'm taking you to my dimension," because it's like shittier footage in like a weird location
Right.
because it's an entirely different show that Saban, like for international, they just were like, all right, well now we'll make it about high school kids.
Which is kind of crazy because like there was a shot in one of the recent episodes where they were in these little like go-karts because Turbo is all about the cars, right? They like switched from like Zords and things like that to like cars. So they were in these go-karts and they went from like chasing this bad guy to saving a bunch of these Japanese people. And it's like it's I know LA has probably little Japan, a little Tokyo or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
But like it's a legit cut from like
No, yeah, they
the
go to,
quality
like-
that they had in the 90s for like filming in LA to the grainy footage that it is the Zords and that kind of footage. So it's
So awesome.
It's really funny, but it's like who the hell cares? They've made bucos of dollar in that fucking
You keep
series.
saying
I want to do an
Buco. Like, I don't want to say I don't want to say millions or billions or thousands. It's like, it's a lot of money.
Where does it come from? I'm trying to. What is buco?
A lot.
But how did you?
No, it's
where did you hear
it's-
this from?
It's buku.
Buku dollars. Okay, thank you. I was mispronouncing the conjugation. It's a
Yeah.
Latin origin. It's a lost language. It's okay.
Yeah, Caleb's lost. Don't
I
worry
just
about
feel
it.
stupid.
He doesn't even get us.
Doesn't even get us.
Okay.
So
Caleb, it's not funny if you don't say
Yeah. Well, I want you to feel bad.
now I do.
So Brandon, good.
This is
Nice
like
with the auditions. Are you just doing it on your phone? Just doing everything on your phone, or is a lot of things?
No. For self-tape, so like for the kid show stuff, like that was a self-tape. So for that, I'm using my camera. And,
Okay, so you do have a
microphone
camera.
and,
You like
and all
the
that.
setup and everything.
Yeah, and then it was just the Zoom thing was odd, and it was a very wide shot type of thing. So I was using my phone.
What?
But I have that set up in the garage with all the lights and
Oh,
everything.
nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to get a 2-bedroom apartment to have one room as an audition room. But my question, only because I wanted to bring this up about the audition stuff, is like every time I look on breakdowns, like Backstage, Actors Access, things like that, a lot of them, they say, short films and different commercials, and a lot of people are asking for commercials of like real families or real couples because
I know,
of
it's so
the
annoying.
quarantine.
Yeah.
Because
So
they want people
aggravating.
who have been like in the same room so they can still film it or whatever. And there's, with all this Zoom stuff going on, I've seen a couple Zoom plays now and some readings, and there's some really interesting things, like different points that I can I watched Midsummer Night's Dream that our very own Caleb was a part of on Twitch, which is a very interesting experience. Like effect wise, you could do a lot of different interesting things that I think enhance the performances or the sitting there watching it. But like, I don't know how I feel about how things are going to Zoom, because every time I see those breakdowns, I don't have the motivation to audition for something on Zoom. Directing a play back in June on Zoom, it just was kind of a, anything that's not written for Zoom specifically, I always feel like it's not gonna read. Like, I was watching Bravo last night, and Andy Cohen had his like live after like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, whatever, and it's on Zoom. Like, he has his own professional setup, and they're still advertising these like fully produced or whatever shows, but they're remote. You know what I mean? And like, is that where we're going to?
No, I mean, I think it's just for now, and also, I mean, with the state of the states, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like that's, I mean, I know in a serious way, Toronto, where like we just started opening up again, right?
Yeah.
So since last week, I've had like 4 auditions since last Wednesday.
Awesome.
Because like we're opened up for commercials and stuff. So it's you can shoot here. The risk is much lower now.
No, New York's been doing
like
really,
we're-
really well, actually, as a state.
Yeah.
And another reason I brought up, because I did help Caleb do a self-tape last weekend. And the footage, like, we did great footage and things like that, but, importing it onto my computer to, like, splice it together, it was just slightly behind. Like, the frame rate was a little bit lower. And the interesting thing is that I've had this computer since, or I've been doing it this way since Audition Tech class. And, because I just recently got my iPhone 11. So I had the iPhone 7, so it wasn't a problem, right? And so when I got my iPhone 11, I had our buddy Max come over before I bought it to kind of test it out, because you can shoot in 4K, you can shoot in HD, and some of the weird exposure stuff is a little bit funky that you're used to. But anyway, so I just found out the setting on the iPhone 11 that you can shoot in 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. And what was happening is that I was the default setting is HD 30, and so transferring it into like high definition from that causes it to be just slightly behind and choppy. Frame rate skips, and so I now know to shoot everything in 60 frames per second when I'm going, doing my audition tapes, and it'll be better. So for anybody out there with an iPhone 11. and I think about it like, oh shit, is that why I haven't gotten like anything? Because they open up my like audition and they're like, what the fuck?
What did he like
What
film
did
this
he
on a
do?
calculator? Like, what did he do?
A T-89, like what?
TI-89,
T-89.
baby.
You know.
So anyway, that's my little like
Well,
tidbit.
so how was the how was the audition, or what can you say about it?
That's
You know,
good.
you never know with these things.
The only stuff that I'm auditioning for at this point where it's like can't talk about it because I signed NDAs is like voiceover stuff. Like I get a lot of voiceover stuff through my manager, so like Netflix stuff. Actually,
So dope.
Yesterday, Brandon, one thing I can't. There's like a VO spot. They were doing voice matches for all these celebrities. I don't know who this person is, but they asked me to do Connor McDavid.
Are you doing it?
I don't know if I booked it. I auditioned for it, but I'm saying I don't know.
Okay.
He's a hockey person.
I know. Yeah, I'm very upset with you right now. Like I'm so
Damn it,
upset. I mean, I'm
Caleb,
very
why don't you know
excited
hockey?
for you, and I really hope you get it.
Okay.
Like, really hope you get it. Connor McDavid's the best hockey player in the world
Oh, wow.
by a pretty good margin.
That's great.
By that's not. There's little argument there at this point. Like, there's guys like Sidney Crosby who's older than him, who was like there's right now he's the best player in the world. I feel very confident saying that.
Okay.
I
don't know.
Yeah. Like, but yeah, so that's fucking awesome, and I really hope you
Sure.
get that. That is super, 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 super cool.
No, great. I figured that you would like that, but for the stuff that Josh
Dude,
and I were doing, it's
so
just like
dope.
stuff on like Actors Access or Backstage. And it's like you just like I know what you're saying, Josh, about like not feeling motivated to go out for like certain things, but like at this point, I just want to like work. I'm so
Yeah, that's
fucking
true.
like I'm like so stir
Yeah.
crazy and just like anything.
It's also just like the stuff that's on Actors Access right now is very limited, compared to stuff that comes through with like the like my agent and stuff, or like what you were saying with the manager for the voiceover stuff. Like it's like you said, Josh, the stuff that's coming through on Actors Access is like, hey, real families or people that are living together
Absolutely.
or whatever,
Yeah.
kind of the wide casting, or like you see like the movie casting call with some giant director, and then it's 4 to 7 year old girl
Right.
that they're looking for,
Or like
and it's
Order
international
6,
casting call.
Right.
Right, or like we need triplets who are all different heights, and one of them is at least 7 feet tall. Like super
And then you sit there
specific
going,
random
"Good
things.
luck, buddy."
so.
You scroll past. No, I it's a lot of it too, and I've been dealing with a lot of like figuring out, in terms of finding representation too. I wasn't able to participate in the school showcase and things like that, and so I didn't really get set up to kind of find that after school. And I'm realizing that, but I also don't want to be that asshole like going to all these like casting agencies and like agents and stuff like that saying, hey, add me to your register. I know you're not really making money at all right now, and all your other actual actors are, staying put, but represent me. You know what I mean? So I have to.
I mean, that's what
but
Brandon
also-
and I did. We just like emailed people.
Oh, okay.
We can cut that. I'm sorry, Brandon's
Well,
giving me a face.
No, not at all. I was gonna say like I don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
Right. No, we got to get into the
But-
movie. Yeah, totally.
I'm just saying because I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole about Showcase, and I don't.
Oh
wanna
yeah,
do
no,
Oh, and yeah, no, don't do that. I might reach out to you guys separately, and because I need to.
Yeah,
I need to
no,
start
but I would
looking
say
for
just
it.
like, what me and Caleb did after Showcase was just like, I just, emailed everybody. And I'd been kind of doing that for years before, I had different representations, different agents before school, and they were all like kind of, whatever.
Right.
And then after school, just kind of emailed to everybody. And it was a little different again, because I knew probably I was going to have to come back to Toronto. Like I did end up signing with a manager in New York, but then obviously didn't lost my visa and all that.
Yeah.
But that manager didn't come to our showcase.
Yeah.
Right.
Very few people
and
did.
Well, no, yeah, and I don't want to. I want to.
But again, no, we're gonna.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that like I think I just have to get over the fact of like claiming my time and being like, no, I because I need representation. I'm that kind of Midwesterner who's like, I don't want to bother you because I know it's a hard time and I know nobody's working. So why would you want to assign me this like, I don't.
But you're also
a very green resume and things like that. But
you're a multi-hyphenate too. You know what I mean? Like you're an actor director,
right.
Like and like you have a
Video game
degree in it, and you have
game
a
extraordinaire,
big
yeah.
resume.
Right.
I would put that on your business
Beat
card.
Kingdom Hearts on Proud. That's the only thing it says.
So anyway, Brandon, shall we? Anything else, you guys? Because I'm actually pretty.
I'm excited to talk about that. Let's get into it.
Brandon,
so
what was the movie for this week?
What We Do in the Shadows, which, by the way, I'm going to say wrong 15 times. Like, he's calling it everything else. Like, we're in the shadows, whatever. But so good. So it's mockumentary style for the audience if you haven't seen it. I saw it originally because I was art directing a movie that was a superhero type thing, similar to this. So I watched it as, it's called Zero Issue. I just wanted to find the name. So we filmed a movie called Zero Issue with, a director who had been at ASDS years before, Jim Fagan, and it was an amazing experience. But it was a lot of fucking, what am I trying to say? Not ideas, but, inspiration taken from these kinds of mockumentaries and stuff. So got super duper deep into this style in this movie, and I've seen it a bunch of times, and I watched it again this morning. And it doesn't even matter, like, the whatever plot, everything, it's all great, but I could just watch them talk, and assuming they improvise for hours, like, they're just hilarious. Every word that comes out of their mouth, it's like understated and just makes me laugh and crack up, and I loved it.
Right. Honestly, thinking about it, I thought it was okay. I felt that because I get the style, and it's very, very different, and a lot of the comments did make me laugh, but it didn't. I don't think it carried me through the movie as much as I thought it would. In terms of like the beginning was really funny with like the introductions and the situation, stuff like that, but then like towards the end, it like the little chuckles inside comments, unless you had the subtitles on, for me anyway. Maybe I should just had the volume up or whatever, but it was hard because it is very quick-witted, like the humor and stuff like that in the lines, and if you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss something.
Well, why weren't you paying attention?
What? I was paying attention.
Just messing with you. Sorry. Genuine
so
hurt.
Yeah,
like,
so
what?
it was funny. I like it. I got a very yeah, you're right. Like The Office is a very good kind of that kind of frame rate, and even like Parks and Recreation type of stuff. But yeah, I thought it was cool. It was cute. We'll go into more detail later.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a more apt comparison would be, I got like really like Christopher Guest vibes, like This Is Spinal Tap, Best in Show, like that type of mockumentary film.
Yes.
And yeah, it's interesting because I know like one of my big things about Bridesmaids last time was like it just felt like an excuse for like the people to improv. But that's literally all this is. It's just like, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
awesome.
they handled it in a different way where it's like, they had like, the script obviously, and then they had their setting and these characters with like these insane backstories. And then like, they're all just such like comedic geniuses that just getting them in firing, like you were saying very quickly. I read that they shot 125 hours of footage.
What?
And the movie's less than an hour and a half. It's like less than 90 minutes. So literally just cutting together all of the best stuff from that, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I found it to be very funny and very clever. And I was genuinely surprised with how polished it was, because this could have very easily been, they could have just like left it at the jokes of listen to their accents and them saying funny things, but like it looks really good. The costumes are all great. The effects of them floating and like invisibility and all the blood. It's actually just great. It's like a really well done movie.
Good.
Yeah, it's very smart.
Bat fight.
I think also just the shooting style of it being a documentary style film helps in the sense of the comedy and the script and the whatever, and allowing them to improv, right? Because it's not, because in Bridesmaids it's a shot, setup shot. It's a fictional world that these characters are inhabiting. In it's the same thing in What We Do in the Shadows. They're in a fictional world, but because it's a mockumentary or documentary style, it had those things at the beginning, like they were granted access before this unholy masquerade, and they wore a crucifix to protect themselves, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like it's setting you up, and then it's like, okay, cool, it's in these vampires' lives, and because the world outside the camera was so very strongly realized that it could be kind of improvised or like off the cusp because they're making a documentary. They don't know what to say. This is like,
Yeah.
you know, they didn't have time to rehearse,
Right.
you know. So I do think that did help the style of the tone of the film, you know, with everything.
Yeah, that, and then the fact that they're, like Caleb said, they're such professionals. Like, they're all so good at improvising and what they do in it. I mean, the werewolves are my favorite part every time.
Yeah, they even
They
brought in the
kill
whole
me.
vampire werewolf.
We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
Not
it's like so
swearwolves.
stupid, but it like makes me laugh. I don't understand. Like it's
So
It's like based in
funny.
New Zealand too, so you got like kind of the
Werewolves?
the
Yeah.
soft, the
Werewolves.
Australian kind of
What,
the Kiwi accent.
Kiwi
yeah.
accent.
why the fuck do you keep swearing?
I was just gonna say that's
So
a good
good.
point, Josh. Just a different setting than I think we're used to. Like every movie is in New York or LA or whatever,
Yeah.
but this is just a very different feel to it, which I think helps a lot to distinguish itself
Yeah.
from. And all the accents
Yeah.
to like my ears, because like we obviously like to them obviously it's not an accent, but to us like it
Right.
sounds very like, you know, funny and honestly, and we'll get, I mean, we're kind of jumping all over the place, but I just kept anytime Jackie was on screen, like she was my favorite part.
Oh, the servant.
Wait,
kind
who's
of
that?
The servant, the woman who is like keeps
For
doing the
Deacon.
chores and can like Deacon's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
and her like accent and the way that
Yeah.
she was speaking was like he's gonna make me immortal. You know, like it just made me.
And she has a whole family.
She's
too,
got a
that's
whole
the thing.
family, and then when
Yeah.
she turns her husband in the end, it's just I would just could keep listing off things that made me
So
laugh.
good.
It's just-
The first time I laughed out loud actually was when I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Vingo.
Viago. I think,
Viago?
maybe? Or-
I can't read my writing. Viago, the guy who we first see get out of the coffin. It's like 6 p.m. You know, and he goes to the window
Wait, like
and he's
the guy who's supposed to be like Vlad the Impaler?
No,
No,
no.
Taika Waititi, the dandy.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
he's
Right.
the one who's a little bit prissy for a vampire. It's like just clean the dishes. You haven't done them in 5 years. Where he like
So
goes to
funny.
the window and he's like, this is the scariest part. And he's like, is it like 6 p.m. like in wintertime or is it 6 p.m. in like July?
Yeah.
Oh God, it's good. It's nighttime. And he just gets excited. He's like, wakey vakey. You know, it's really fun. The introduction, the different kinds of vampires, right? So I thought it was really cool to have, and they always say their ages and stuff like that. And you know, the youngest Deacon, you know, he's hanging upside down.
He's the rebel of the vampires.
Right, the Vlad, he's having an orgy, as he opens the door and stuff, and
Well, yeah.
and then you got Peter,
Well,
who's like
And like I love
Yeah.
that they just made him Vlad the Impaler, you know?
Vlad the poker.
the poker.
Which is just so they're all like different parodies. I mean,
and Peter is like the classic like monster.
Yeah, you have
vampire.
Nosferatu in the basement.
Yeah.
And then you have like Viago. To me, was very Interview with a Vampire, like Brad Pitt and Tom
Yeah.
Cruise.
Yeah.
And then Jermaine Clement is like Vlad the Impaler, which was the inspiration for Dracula. And then I don't know his name because he's not as like well known as the other two. The actor's name, but the guy who played
guy-
Deacon is supposed to
Yeah.
be like a Twilight kind of vampire, like a
Kind
and
of a
it
cool.
just-
He's like,
yeah,
yeah,
he's
cool.
like,
Like, look at me.
Sorry, that was my one. I forgot until you just said that. What is it, Steve, or what's the other guy's name? The newest vampire
Nick.
comes in.
Nick.
Nick. When Nick comes in and they're doing that montage of them at the bar, and he just keeps being like, "You know Twilight? I'm like that guy."
Yeah, it's
Killed me.
it was really cool, and then just the whole like. You know how men like puff their chests out, or like different kinds of birds in nature, like
Yeah.
are like, come at me, bro. How they do it, they're like they float up in the air and they're like to chests, and then you just have it's the side looks that got me right. It's a funny movie because you get with the mockumentary, you get those little side glances at the camera.
Yeah.
Like Vlad's like Jesus.
the classic Jim Halpert looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut to Jim looking at the camera.
What did you guys?
Wait, do you get that reference now?
Josh,
Office?
what was your question?
What?
Did you start watching The Office, Caleb?
No, but I know who
That's
Jim
awesome.
is. I know who John Krasinski
We
is.
always have- we
I'm
have those
asking if you
memes.
started watching it yet. I'm gonna keep pushing
All right.
it. Just it's just so many hilarious moments, but the one that was like the saddest and funniest for me was when like at like Vigo or whatever, when he's calling his old assistant
Oh yeah.
who sent him in the box the other place, and the guy's like 90 years old. He's like, "You promised you turn me into a vampire. I've done nothing
I'm
with
90
my life."
years old.
And he just like shuts the computer.
One of the funniest jokes, just having to do with that, because I think it sets up an interesting reversal for the end. Because like the whole thing with his character is that he had this like love of his life that they got separated, and he knows where she is, but he hasn't gone to her because she's lived her whole life, you know. But in the end, they get together, but she's like an old lady. And so you're sitting with like Taika Waititi, who's in his like 30s, maybe like early 40s. I'm not sure at this point. Next to this like old woman. And he's like, so people talk about the age difference. What's a 96-year-old woman doing with someone 3 times her age?
Yeah.
It's just like really, but it's like, you know what I was saying last time, the moments that are like funny, but they're also based in character. Very, very smart, very well written / improved.
Well, it's taking the vampire lore that we know and putting it into like that modern time, right? Like the whole they can only be invited in. So they try and go out for the night, and they're trying to get the bouncers to invite them into the bars, but they're like, guys, just they won't be invited in until they go to the vampire bar, right? Which is like nobody, and then Nick
just like dead.
and then Nick comes around. He's like, hey, I know this place. I know the bouncer. You guys want to go? And they get invited in. They're so genuinely excited. I mean, these are vampires that have spent hundreds of years together and like friends. And there's all these like different photos of them in the different ages and stuff. But then also Nick introduces them, or Stuart introduces them.
The Stu's great.
The human that gets like carried around and stuff like that. And it's like he's just in the corner, And like, but they go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, like Nick and Stewart show them the internet and like technology and like, and it's so funny to see these beings that are centuries old trying to like figure out the internet. And there's a line, I don't know if you guys missed it, but Vlad's like, they look up virgins online, like images, and he's like, I don't think she's a virgin if she's doing that.
Yeah.
It's just it's witty, it's funny, yeah.
Or like their whole love for Stu is amazing. Like when Stu's getting eaten by the werewolves, and you just see Nick being like, "No, don't eat him. He's a good dude."
Yeah,
it's just like the understated things like that,
They not tried, but the movie has these moments of a more serious tone to like create like a through line, and I didn't think that stuff was like as effective as, because it's a comedy movie, right? But like when when Peter like burns to death. It's like a very, strange, I feel, choice to have that happen in like the middle of this like comedy. But then they use it as a setup for when the police come, and then like that segment's incredible.
Right. Because
I forgot about the police until so good.
Viago's hypnotism isn't the strongest, so he's
they're
like,
all worried.
It
and
could,
like, hey, and
and you got Vlad just on the ground, like holding Deacon by his ankles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you imagine just the iron will of everybody in that room to not like burst out laughing when that's going on.
Because there's like 7 people in that room, we don't
know how big the crew is. There's like an amazing, probably how many people are in this fucking room, and then these guys
filming these scenes,
and they're in the fucking costumes and the makeup and like,
and then like the whole thing is like the cops are like, oh, you need a fire detector, like you need these safety things, and they're like, cool,
absolutely.
No. Then when they're leaving the basement, the Deacon's like, we should kill them. If I was like, well, let's see what other safety tips they have, and then we'll see.
We're getting this for free. I don't know why.
Well, and then Viago, remember, he's like, we can't kill them because then more cops will come, and then the Christians come, and you don't want to deal with those Christians. It's very funny, and obviously talking about it, it's like, you have to go back and kind of process and let it kind of sit because it's a very different style, but just to Caleb's point about the crew, right? You have some people on camera, but the crew, can you imagine like quiet on set, and then having to like work a camera or like the boom mic and like giggling to yourself the whole time? Like
it's actually my biggest nightmare is like being in a position like that, and then just like, 'cause I laugh at everything. Like I'm notorious for breaking very easily, so I would just, but maybe my fear would like keep me
Right.
from doing it.
Your professionalism would help.
Yeah. Well, also like I don't know. I feel the opposite. Bloopers are my favorite thing in the world. Like you both know that because I've made you guys sit down and watch like hours of random bloopers before. But I love them.
Yeah.
They just make me so happy. It's everybody having the best time, you know?
Yeah. No,
I
definitely.
was watching Will Ferrell yesterday.
Sure.
And it was a compilation of him just trying to make people crack. And it's like there's a couple from Step Brothers. They don't even get it's never in the movie because they don't get the take. Just because everybody's dying of laughter.
Yeah.
Like those, I feel like those are the days that you would remember, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's actually, I'm really glad they put in the whole scene with the old woman and Viago just sitting there, because in the trailer, it's a very funny part of the trailer, right? But they actually don't, it's not until the very end of the movie that they get together and she becomes a vampire, and they're happy, you know, she's 90. But when I say like situations and stuff that kind of stuck out to me, also the coming out as a vampire, they framed it very much as when Nick was coming out to Stuart as like that he was a vampire. It was very much a coming out like like gay.
Yeah,
type of
'cause they're like,
situation.
don't worry, I'm not going to eat you. I'm not interested in
Yeah.
eating you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, very interesting.
You know, and it's just
So
really
well done.
really funny, because also with Deacon's wife or servant or whatever, you know, it's her job to find victims because they have to eat and stuff, you know, and so she seemingly finds these people that she could coax into coming to the thing, but then she doesn't care about if they die, right? And that's how Nick gets introduced, and that's how, you know.
Yeah. Well, the girl that showed up with him, she's like, I'm not a virgin. She's like, you were when I met you. It was like, we were like 12.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, little moments like that are the funniest. to
And
me.
before she just goes, yeah, he's my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
And like because they were dating when they were 12.
Yeah.
And that was an ex-boyfriend.
It's so
Like,
it's
just little jokes like
and
that.
it's the eating the chips or the French fries, you know, and because Nick he's 2 months into it, so he's like, I want a French fry, you know, or a chip to them, and he like starts just throwing up everywhere, and I don't know it.
Yeah, they really are. The jokes that work the best are those little moments that, like you were saying, Josh, play on what we already know about this like really expansive hundreds years old lore of the fictional stuff.
Like even the wooden stakes or something, like on the Vampire Hunter,
These are
right?
just
Like
table legs.
he's like, it's just table legs. Do you think he hands?
that is gorgeous,
Santa?
gorgeous finish on these.
Imagine getting this in your stomach.
But they also turn situations on their heads, right? So another really great moment is when Viago's like, he has his victim, right? And he likes to get to know them. He likes to take them, you know, treat them well for their last day on Earth. And he's like, so what do you?
He's putting like the little
The
napkin
bib, yeah.
in his collar
Right,
before
exactly.
he
And
bites her
he's like,
neck.
so what do you want to do? And
it's
she's
so
like, well, I
good.
want to go to uni. I want to do this. She has
And
all
he's
these
like-
dreams. And he's like, oh, shit.
Well,
And then he goes to try and bite her, and
when he fucks up, he like can't drink the blood. Yeah.
you can't. And so like it's just squirting. It was fun. It's like a slapstick almost farce. Almost.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
completely
it was
ridiculous.
It's just one of those movies that the whole way through, like it's enjoyable and well written, funny, but also you can just tell everybody involved's having a good time, and there's something special about that.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about the whole beast montage or like motif in the film? Because every time they say the beast, an image would pop up with this like creature with like a penis on its chest and the vagina down where the belly button is, and then it turns out to be
Just his ex.
his ex-girlfriend or wife or whoever, ex-lover. And it's so they go to this masquerade, and then, you know, finds out that Stu is a human, and it's hilarity ensues, and it's great. And
She just kept, and then she just keeps going, "Hey asshole," and just keeps calling him asshole, and I kept cracking up every time.
Beast!
She's like, "Don't call me asshole. Don't call me the beast."
Yeah. I'm sad. I was wondering because it's like, you know, what are they going to do with this reveal? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're setting it up, so it's obviously going to come into play.
It's so good.
And then it's just this woman. It's the
And
best
she's
way they could have
just
done it.
totally normal.
yeah.
You know, they're doing a sequel called.
Well, there's a show too.
Well, there's the show, but they're doing a sequel film called We're Wolves.
No.
Get it?
Really?
Werewolves.
I love it.
No,
Do you get it? Do you
Caleb,
get
thank you.
it?
Yes.
I love it.
And I thought the werewolves were really funny in this.
They're especially when they're like chaining each other up. Like, why would you get a combination lock?
Yeah.
Well, because I lost my key. Why didn't you wear sweatpants? You're gonna wear jeans. You're gonna
those are
rip.
gonna rip. Yeah, just like really, just the anger of like the exasperation
that-
of like we've done this before.
Is that fur? Oh, disgusting.
Yeah, Reese. I don't even know how to pronounce that fucking name, but Reese Darby is like the lead werewolf, and he's very funny.
Or like when they come into the house at the end, they're like the
I'm the
vampires
alpha.
are worried that like just don't pee on anything or like smell, and like you can see the judgments and the prejudices between these two culture, like these races of creature that have been in countless fantasy sci-fi novels, like the werewolves versus the vampires is their like
Twilight, Underworld.
it's
So funny.
I'm sure there are more.
right, and so no, I thought, talking back a bit with the style and the tone, I thought it was very, very well done.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's funny. I don't know like what else to really like
Nah.
say about it in
Yeah.
terms of like we're gonna dissect it frame by frame, because that's not the
exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
movie it is. Not that it wasn't done incredibly well, but it's more of like
No,
these are
it's
my
just-
funniest.
yeah, it's just
these
a
are the best
fun-
parts.
Yeah, when you're
I just it's a unique comedy. You know.
Yeah, and that's what I say when we're talking about comedies, because with this cycle, it's going to be a wide range of everything, and really finding, Brandon, this was definitely your kind of humor, because you love the stand up, you love like these kind of style of
Yeah,
movies and
especially
stuff,
that improv style
Yeah.
for sure. Definitely gets me.
and so compared to Bridesmaids, there's still those elements, but because of the style of the filming, that's where you get kind of the distinct, like what works better for What We Do in the Shadows versus Bridesmaids, and things like that.
Also, the runtime between
Yeah,
the two.
hour 20 minutes.
You know?
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Snappy.
it's a significant thing. So
And they cover,
Yeah.
even in this movie is like a half an hour shorter or around there. It covers like so much more, like a bigger scope of time, bigger range of emotions. I think it like has maybe technically fewer characters, but each character gets more growth because
Well,
you
you
can
got
pay
these-
attention to them more.
Well,
you
with the
know?
documentary style, you can have the characters sitting down talking about each other. You get those backstories and histories. You get those flashes of, and they superimpose their faces on different, very popular arts of vampires and things like that. Granted, one of them I think is Kronos eating his children,
Yeah.
which is a god, not really a vampire, but it's a beast-looking kind of painting. So, yeah, no, you kind of get that. Like with something with Bridesmaids, you have to do it all through crafty exposition and written scenes. Like this is like, okay, Vlad, tell me about Viago. Oh yeah, no, he's like this, he's this, yada yada yada. So they're different vehicles that you can use that the way it's filmed lends itself to more.
well, and I'm guessing here. I don't know, but you have to assume that the production of the two were very, very different.
of
Bridesmaids, a much bigger production. You're on a tight schedule. You have people in and out. So your time is limited for improv and finding things comparatively. I'm guessing where a movie like this, again, Caleb, you said they had 153 hours or something of footage,
Some ridiculous
So, like, you
amount of
have the-
footage to come through.
So you have the time. You're not spending an insane amount of money on this shot, on this location, on this day, I'm assuming again, but
Well, no, you can tell that, like, what you were talking about, for example, Josh, like when they're going around trying to get into bars, you can tell that those are probably like real bouncers, like, because the camera's so far away and they're trying to like get into the, and like stuff like that. And just imagine like the actual story that tells when you're like just trying to like work at this club and these three fucking weirdos dressed in like a costume come up and they're like, we'd like to come inside. It's
Right,
like,
'cause,
all right,
like,
then
they
go
have-
in.
Right, I'll go in. But it's like, no, you
Yeah.
have to invite us.
Yeah, it seems like this clearly, not that I'm saying like Bridesmaids like didn't necessarily, like they weren't like passionate about it,
Yeah.
but that's like a Hollywood movie that has very
Of
specific
course.
goals and you're trying to accomplish a
Right.
very specific thing for your market, where
Yeah.
this is like, I mean, they didn't even have international, they had to kickstart to bring their movie to the States to like show it.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Like, so
this is a calling card,
yeah, very like specific sense of humor, very like project, like a indie passion project for everybody. And they had success before, like Taika Waititi has been making indie films for a long time, like Boy, Hunt for the Wilder People. They're all great. Now he's in the Marvel shit, so he's like, fine.
He's good.
Jermaine Clement was one half of
He just won an Academy
Flight of the
Award.
Conchords. Yeah, with Jojo Rabbit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Academy Award winner
Yeah.
Taika Waititi. And then Jermaine Clement's one
Yeah.
half of Flight of the Conchords and has been doing comedy forever.
Yeah.
So, but this was the thing I think that brought them to really international acclaim, and you can tell that they really put a lot of passion and effort into it.
Do you know what hand they had with the TV show at all on FX?
I've seen like the pilot of it. I haven't really watched it.
I haven't seen the show. I just know it's the same premise.
Yeah,
but I didn't know
I'm
if
sure
they had-
I'm sure they're producing it. I know they're not in it.
Yeah.
I think like different
Right.
actors are playing those characters, or maybe they're.
I mean, it's gotten like people love it.
People love it, yeah.
Nominations and things like that. So I mean, they're doing something right. It's just interesting to like bring something to the States, and then all of a sudden FX is now producing and
So, I mean, such a good premise.
Well, it's been
you know?
such a thing this the
Yeah.
past few years, especially of taking these movies and making TV shows out of them. And sometimes you get like something like Fargo, which is an incredible show.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe people see that and it's like, all right, now we have to start doing that. And it's all
Well,
like,
I mean, I just watched the first episode of Snowpiercer, which again a little different because it was a graphic novel before a movie,
Right.
but so far fantastic, and everybody who's watched it has said that it's really
yeah, it's
But,
interesting.
good. The main guy is the guy from Hamilton, the guy
it's
you
David Diggs.
He's I don't think I'd ever seen him before. I watched Hamilton a few nights ago. Started watching Snowpiercer. I think he's my favorite actor right now. Wow,
it's kind of crazy.
Holy shit!
Watching Hamilton last week, a couple weeks ago, Ryan's mom was like, "Oh, I recognize him from the Snowpiercer," and I said, "Yeah, a lot of when you're part of like really successful Broadway shows, it does open up a lot of avenues for you because." Producers, casting directors, your agents, selling you,
yes,
once
but
you're-
also I think like it's not just that he was like on a Broadway. He was on the Broadway show of like
Yeah.
all time. That
okay,
also
but-
helps.
that's why I said successful
But he also
Broadway
wasn't
show.
from Hamilton. Like he's the lead singer of this band called Clipping that has like been doing really interesting experimental hip hop for like a long time.
Well, he
And
had that
that's where-
movie.
I love that.
Do you guys see his movie? What movie did he have?
Blind Spotting
Blind
is his
Spotting.
film, which is if you like him, Brandon, you got to watch this film called Blind Spotting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
done.
you got to listen to Clipping because they're fucking great. And that's
Yeah.
where he came from. And and then Hamilton, obviously, of course, blew him up to
Yeah.
astronomical proportions. And then he was on Kimmy Schmidt for a while. He's great. He's definitely really talented.
Speaking of,
Isn't Jennifer Connelly on that show too?
Yeah, she's like the other lead.
I didn't think that movie was like that good, but people have been saying the television show is really good, so I'll check it out.
You could tell already. It's a very it's a graphic novel or series of comics. So the movie is very streamlined, clearly.
Sure.
So even from the pilot of the show, you're like, okay, there's a whole.
Where's it on?
We got much more going on here. Netflix. Oh, you know what? Sorry, Netflix in Canada. It's a TSN show. That's not right. Sorry. Not obviously not TBS. Who owns TBS?
I don't know.
Fucking somebody.
TNT?
TNT. Thank you. It's a TNT show and
God.
a TBS show. I
TNT
believe.
knows drama.
And then yeah.
TBS, always funny.
Always funny. Sorry. I'll check it out. Check out the pilot for sure. I didn't realize it was out.
Speaking of TV shows, small tangent. You guys hear about the HBO Max Batman TV show that's going to be an expansion of the Batman movie?
Well, I read the article that said it's Robert Pattinson's worst nightmare, so I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just heard a bit
Why?
of
because he
it.
doesn't want to do TV.
But it's HBO, so it's
He
not
doesn't
really
have to
like
be in it. He's Batman.
Huh?
he doesn't have to
They're
be
doing
in
it
it.
about Gotham Police.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
it was
it's-
like...
No, it's not
Oh.
going to be.
No,
he's going to do the movies, but
yeah, he's not doing it.
but saying that the TV show will be an expansion of the universe that they set up for in the movie.
Great.
And so that'll be interesting because it's HBO. Like you have, and it's and what we talked about last time about the eight episodes, hour long. Like they're really gonna. So it'll be interesting. Granted, it's not going to be out until late 2021, early 2022. But that's
Well,
something.
my only thing with that is, and I'm excited. I'll watch it because I'm a nerd and that's what I do. But we just did this with Gotham and it was great. And I liked Ben McKenzie as Jim Gordon, and I know that's like a different thing. This is HBO, so I assume it's going to be much more like. Grr.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. I
Much
think
more grr.
well, it's
Brandon
the
McPherson.
budget, right? Like it's right. But it's the budget, right, Brandon? So like when you're on the CW
Yeah.
or Fox, TV budget is far less than HBO budget, and so they're gonna be able to do a lot more polished work, and the storytelling that they're gonna be able to do would be a lot, because Gotham, first few seasons were good, and then they kind of like went meh, but. Here it sounds like they're going to try and really kind of build it, kind of like what Marvel's doing on Disney Plus with Captain America and Winter Soldier and the Vision and Wanda. So
We'll never get a break.
Never
Just
get
going
a
to
break.
oversaturate
It's just
that
gonna-
market, baby.
they're going to make you have to get Disney Plus to get this content to figure out what's going on in the movies, and then so. Lucky for us, we're actors, and there's plenty of content. And as soon as one of us gets a Marvel or DC contract,
We can set up a Patreon for
We
the
can set up a
podcast.
Hey man, I'm still out there trying to get some Roy Harper.
Yeah.
There you go.
Trying to get on Teds. I'm trying to find that out, but
so
cool.
Do we have anything else to say about the
I
movie?
think I'm okay. I'm good. I'm ready to.
I actually really quickly before we rate the movie,
Yeah.
I wanted to jump back to something Josh was saying before the movie stuff, if that's cool.
Sure.
Just really quickly, when you were talking about Zoom episodes and stuff with TV and all of that, I mean, right now I agree. Like I haven't seen many that do it well, but I will say, and I've said this a lot already, I'm definitely on the bandwagon, but the quarantine episode of Mythic Quest was phenomenally well done.
I still have to. I'm sorry.
You know.
I know. We're waiting for
No,
me
no,
to,
different,
to watch
different
it
thing.
to
But I'm just
talk
saying
about
that
it.
but the quarantine thing, and they did it. It's all Zoom style, right?
Yeah.
Like video chat style. It was very like that's the best one I've seen so far.
Well, what's interesting
Just in that
with this
style.
whole culture, so on HBO Max, there's this show called Legendary, which is the ballroom scene, competition show ballroom scene, almost like So You Think You Can Dance and things like that, and like.
Oh, cool.
It was really, I really enjoyed it. Me and my roommate Antoine watched it. But the final episode, they were filming, they started the finale, and then 3 days into the finale, Corona hit. And so they had this little blip saying, because of the safety, they still filmed it because it was way early in New York, and so they just did it without an audience, right? So it was just them and the
Right.
judges. And they still were able to finish it. It was produced. It was great. It's interesting how much the audience really does fuel like a performance like that. Same thing with We Are Here, which is RuPaul's Drag Races. Eureka, Shangela, and Bob the Drag Queen go to these really small towns and rural parts of the country to like essentially do a drag show and invite culture into people's lives and create a safe space or whatever. Kind of like educating those that may judge the homosexual community or drag queens. But their final episode was canceled because of the coronavirus. And so it ended up being, and the way they put it together was very well done. So that they showed some footage from the beginning week, but then they had to be shut down. And so it ended up being almost like a interview type of situation with Bob, Shangela, and Eureka at their own places, talking about how what drag meant to them and things like that. So it was like almost like a, I don't know how you would call it, type of thing. So, but then the final moment was all of the drag daughters from the season put together like their like on their phone or whatever, Zoom, them lip syncing to a song or whatever, and then they made this like montage music video type thing of all the different kids that they helped through the season and things like that. So it was very clever the way they did it with this whole Corona stuff, But now that those are over, now you have to wait for everything
yeah,
to start up again.
there's a lot of innovation going on,
yeah.
The other side of that spectrum with the no audience thing, though, you're talking about the dancing competition. They've been doing UFCs with no audience, and they're on Fight Island now in Dubai because they bought an island to fight on. And it's so there's no
Mortal
so think about this,
Kombat.
there's no audience, right? And so you have your cornermen, and then you have your judges, and you have like the commentators. And the first fights that happened, like, and it was like they started really quickly, just a couple months ago. the commentators started realizing that the fighters could hear every word they were saying. And the commentators and the analysts are like the best in the world at what they do. So you're watching these fighters like changing up their tactics based on what the commentators are saying.
Wow. That's
And so
funny.
it just added this whole different level and shit. You could hear all like the coaches, but then you can also just hear every like
impact.
it's
Probably really
it's-
fucking
it's,
disgusting.
it's weird. It's weird,
Totally.
but it's like it's
I'm
it's a
intrigued.
different. It's just a different thing.
I don't want to think
interesting.
about how badly they're hurting each other. I just
Right.
want to watch and be
I just wanna watch
entertained.
'em. Yeah. Cool.
It's it's interesting, but it's just it's crazy that how much innovation there is. Just people trying to figure shit out
Oh yeah.
this time.
So,
Yeah.
all right, boys, ready to give it some ratings?
Yeah, Brandon, you go first.
I give it 4 out of 5. I also want one of those jackets that they argue over.
I also gave it a 4. I think it's very, very well done.
After talking about it, I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Hey,
I was
this
a
is the
solid-
second time that this has happened. After Raging Bull, we all gave it a 4 as well.
I was going to give it a hard 3, Brandon, but you guys worked me back up because
We won you
re-talking
over?
about it,
Love it.
it's funnier re-talking about it and thinking back at the scenes. It's like, oh yeah, that was well done. You know,
It's
So,
a very quotable movie, which is a big
yeah.
thing for comedies.
Yeah, it's good to be able to remember the
Take
jokes.
away moments, yeah.
Sorry.
cool. Caleb, I think, right? What are we doing next
Yeah,
week?
it's my turn.
Comedies, right? Still,
Yeah, there's a film from 1971, a Hal Ashby movie called Harold and Maude. Have you seen it?
Harold and Maude. I don't think so.
All right, great. So we'll do Harold and Maude next time. It's on Amazon Prime in both countries, and I think HBO Max as well.
Great.
okay.
It is, yeah, I'm excited for you guys to watch it.
It's not like a Monty
You guys
Python
tell
type
us
thing, is it?
anything about it?
Nope. It's just a movie I
Is
really
it
like.
puppets?
No, it's what? Puppets?
I don't know. It sounds like vaudeville. I don't
Is
know.
it Monty
or something.
Python-esque?
No. It's just a movie.
Okay. All right.
It's a cult movie. It's got like a pretty big cult following. I
Okay.
don't want you guys to just watch it.
Perfect. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so Harold and Maude next time.
Harold and Maude.
And Brandon, take us off.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of 3MFAers Podcast. Please subscribe. Find us on YouTube at 3MFAers Podcast, on Instagram at 3MFAers Podcast, Apple Music at 3MFAers Podcast. You can find me at Brandon Kyle McPherson on Instagram. Josh.
Follow me at stir_Joshua. And also we're on Spotify, Mr. Brandon.
Yep. Also find us on Spotify at 3MFAers Podcast, and we will soon be on Google Podcast or whatever it's called. Caleb.
Yeah, check out filmreviewdaily.com. Me and my other contributors are working to cover pretty much everything. New film review every day. I'm on Letterboxd at CJCASDS. And that's it. Please, like, comment, subscribe. And if you have any questions, then leave a comment in the YouTube section.
Seriously though, ask us questions about the movies, comments, anything you like.
Actually, really quickly, I have a
yeah,
question for you guys.
Bring it.
So the editor of Film Review Daily, James Cameron Wilson, who's brilliant and a very kind person, he asked me, like, out of the blue, for, I think he's putting something together, if I had from the last 5 or 6 years any like memorable, amazing movie quotes that have like stuck in my head. And I put like together a list, but I was wondering if you guys, off the top of your head, I know this is like you haven't had time to think about it, but is there anything that like jumps at you?
Are we talking what style?
Just
Quote
anything at all?
from movies that are like really memorable, like really special that you think.
But that's completely subjective.
I got it.
That's why I'm
to me.
asking you, because it's subjective.
I got it.
Okay.
All right, Brent.
Yo, I am Iron Man.
Well, I mean, that's over a decade ago, but sure.
does he say it again when he snaps
You're right.
in Endgame?
Sorry, you're right.
I mean, come on. What a moment.
Oh, within this, the
5 or 6 years. Past 5 or
You
6
said
years.
last 5 or 6 years, right?
Yeah.
5 or 6 years. What's coming out?
I have a few that I could just rattle off.
Yeah, hit us with some.
So I thought there's like a bunch of quotes from Whiplash, for example, that I think are fantastic. Like not quite my tempo. Were you rushing? Were you dragging? There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job. I love the quote from Creed. I think that movie's okay, but when Sylvester Stallone says, like, he's like, time, takes everybody out. It's undefeated. Like, thinking of like him and his legacy, that's incredible. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff from Guardians of the Galaxy, like I Am Groot. Kingsman has manners maketh man, which is like really the funniest line, I think, for me. Did you guys see The Big Sick with Kumail Nanjiani? So Ray Romano, like, he's like, so what's your stance on 9/11? And he's like, my stance on 9/11, anti. It was a tragedy. We lost 19 of our best guys.
Oh my god!
And it's just like, because he's like trying to make light of, but then it's like Ray Romano and Holly Hunter is staring at him like, oh my fucking god!
Right. And he's just like playing a version of like he's a stand-up in the movie.
Yeah. I thought that.
So he's got that sensibility. The character.
Yeah. Brad Pitt's line in Fury: "Ideals are peaceful, history is violent," is very good.
I got one. Anybody kills anybody is manslaughter. Or anybody kills anybody, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter.
Manslaughter.
Once upon a time in Hollywood. That's one of my new favorite lines.
But the most quotable movie is definitely Mad Max Fury Road.
Sure.
When he's like, what a lovely day, what a lovely day. Like, that shit just makes me fucking smile. I don't know.
Are they doing the second one? I keep hearing about it, but then apparently like they hated each other. So
I think it's less that they hated each other, and I think it's more like they were in Namibia and they shot like all day and it was hot, and they was like, when you watch that movie, it's such a fucking like flawless technical masterpiece that
so
practical effects and like making sure everything's right. Like, it's just, I would be exhausted and things would
irritated.
Be tense.
Yeah.
But Tom Hardy said, he was like, I was like miserable, and then like I see the finished movie months later and I'm like, oh, like you're a genius. Like, I totally get it now. Like, because it was for this.
Yeah.
But I also think, schedules, and I think Charlize Theron is like doing other things now. So maybe they'll make it.
Totally.
She's fantastic. Apparently her new movie's great. You
gotta watch it too. But all right, that was a little tangent, but sorry. Thank you for indulging me.
Awesome. Well, that was 3M Affairs podcast. Thanks for listening. And next week we will be covering Harold
and Maude.
All right. Peace, y'all.